Hi, my name is Emily. I'm 26 years old and I survived COVID-19, which is also known as coronavirus. I spent nearly 2 weeks in isolation as my body fought it off. I want to share my story so that you guys can understand how dangerous this virus is and how important it is to take precautions. It all started a few weeks back when I was doing absolutely fine. There was a lot of panic about COVID 19, and we were asked by the government to take the necessary precautions of social distancing and staying indoors. However, I used to feel that I will not get affected by this virus as I was fit and fine and thought a little socializing would do me no harm, which turned out to be the biggest mistake I made. I attended a small gathering in my neighborhood and was back home very soon. A week after the party, I had been informed that I was in contact with someone who had been in contact with someone with COVID 19. Nothing serious, I told myself, but I decided to social distance anyway. I developed a very dry cough. The swollen gland I developed 3 days before became very prominent. The cough was persistent, which made speaking for longer than 40 seconds hard. I was extremely fatigued. I'm anemic and well acquainted with tiredness, but this was chronic. A good night's sleep did not help. My chest was painfully tight. At first, I blamed work anxiety, but then I developed a fever. I was hot and cold at the same time. I struggled to walk and my breathing became shallow and difficult. The muscles in my neck began to ache. The scariest day. I woke up feeling like I'd been run over by a truck in my sleep, and then thrown off a cliff. The muscles on my face ached. In fact, every muscle hurt. My persistent cough became extremely painful. I also developed a painful migraine. Still with a fever and cough. On this day, I became frightful of how my body would force itself to sleep. My breathing was worrying and I feared the worst. I called the health agency who took my samples and then confirmed my suspicions about me suffering from COVID-19. They instructed me to self-isolate in my room as there was no room available in the hospitals. After hearing this, I was scared of what to expect as to how would I recover from this without any professional medical assistance. I slept a lot. Keeping my eyes open was painful to the core. Wore sunglasses to use my phone, the sunlight made my migraine worse, my body ached and my breathing worsened. Coughing did not help. I could feel my lungs getting heavier and every breath got shorter. Painkillers had no effect on the pain that I was going through. I was scared to sleep as my breathing was not improving. I could not even hold my breath for more than 2 seconds. I got alarmed when I noticed that I lost the ability to taste food. I nearly passed out brushing my teeth as it was obstructing my breathing. I got so scared that I called the health agency again, but to my dismay, they were too overstretched to help. At this point, I was begging God. I didn't want to die this way. My health got a little better, but I was still in a very bad state. I opened my curtains for the first time after 8 days. Still needed sunglasses. Body aches reduced and migraine was not so persistent. I actually coughed less, but it was nauseous and brought up yellow mucus from my lungs. I was still feeling breathless from just sitting up and had sharp pains in my chest, but the migraines improved. Thankfully, body temperature was back to normal. I coughed about twice a day but found the mental strength to find hope. I saw small improvements in my condition and was able to hold my breath for a longer time now. I slept less but was able to do certain household chores, which needed less physical effort. I had difficulty in breathing, but I could feel it was improving slowly. I became restless and wanted to go out now. I walked down the stairs for the first time. I thanked God that I was recovering as I walked around my garden. I wasn't sure if I could remember what fresh air felt like. I've lost several days of my life to this illness. Many others have lost their lives. You can do your part by staying at home. Stop joking around and take it seriously. I'm a healthy 26-year-old and it hit me hard. I'm grateful to have recovered, but many couldn't. Hi, my name is Dahlia, an intensive care unit physician in a city near Milan, Italy. I have been serving the COVID-19 patients since the start of the pandemic, and I want to share my experience of working in a hospital where exhausted staff battle to save patients day in and day out. I understand the need not to create panic, but when the message of the dangerousness of what is happening does not reach people, I shudder. I myself watched with amazement the reorganization of the entire hospital in the first week of March 2020, when our current enemy was still in the shadows. The ward slowly emptied, elective activities were interrupted, intensive care were freed up to create as many beds as possible. All this rapid transformation brought an atmosphere of silence and surreal emptiness to the corridors of the hospital that we did not yet understand, waiting for a war that was yet to begin, and that many, including me, were not so sure would ever come with such ferocity. I still remember my night call a month ago, when I was waiting for the results of a sample. When I think about it, my anxiety over one possible case seems almost ridiculous and unjustified after all that's been happening. Well, the situation has been terrifying to say the least. The war had literally exploded, and battles were uninterrupted day and night. But now that need for beds had arrived in all its drama. One after the other, the departments that had been emptied filled up at a faster pace. The boards with the names of the patients, of different colors depending on the operating unit, were all red, and instead of surgery, you could see the diagnosis, which was always the damn same: bilateral interstitial pneumonia. We were appalled to see that this flu virus could cause such rapid, widespread effects. And while there were still people who boasted of not being afraid by ignoring directions, protesting because their normal routine was temporarily put in crisis, the epidemiological disaster had been taking place and in full swing. And there were no more surgeons, urologists, orthopedists. We were the only doctors who suddenly became part of a single team to face this tsunami that had devastated us. Cases were multiplying. We arrived at a rate of 15 to 20 admissions per day, all for the same reason. The results of the swabs now come one after the other. Positive, positive, and positive. Suddenly, the emergency rooms were flooded, and the emergency radiology started to collapse. Reasons for the admissions were always the same: fever and breathing difficulties, fever and cough, respiratory failure. Radiology reports always the same: bilateral interstitial pneumonia, bilateral interstitial pneumonia, bilateral interstitial pneumonia, all to be hospitalized. Someone are ready to be intubated and go to intensive care. For others, it was too late. Every ventilator became like gold. Those in operating theaters that had now suspended their non-urgent activity become intensive care places that did not exist before. The staff was exhausted. I saw the tiredness in those faces that did not know what tiredness was. Despite the already exhausting workloads they had, I saw a solidarity in all of us, who never failed to go to our internist colleagues to ask, "What can I do for you now?" Doctors moved beds and transferred patients instead of ward boys. administer therapies instead of nurses because there was a dearth of supporting staff. Nurses had tears in their eyes because we could not save everyone. And the vital parameters of several patients at the same time revealed an already marked destiny. There were no more shifts, no more hours. Social life was suspended for us. We could no longer see our families for the fear of infecting them. Some of us had already become infected despite the protocols and safety measures that we were taking. Now you must be wondering why I'm saying all of this on a global platform. But I'm not just saying this, I'm urging all of you to take this as a red alert and act accordingly. There are millions across the world just like my team and I who are working for the safety and benefit of their people. Doctors, nurses, supporting staff in hospitals, the police, the guys at the medical store, the staff at the store who are arranging all the daily essentials for us, the delivery guys, and many, many more. All you must do is stay home. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, saving the world by just staying home. Please share this message. We must spread the word and try to prevent the spread of this infection as much as possible. We don't have a lot of studies, but this situation is really worse, and any neglect and carelessness during an epidemic will cost us big.